All right. Thank you for being here, and welcome to Revisiting History, where I'm always happy to have you guys. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, hit all the buttons, the bells, all the whistles, because it helps us in the algorithm. Al Gore's rhythm. So, today we are reviewing H.P. Lovecraft's The Tomb. It's a pretty close adaptation to the actual story. I had actually not read The Tomb, so this was a new adventure for me, and I also have not read a ton of Lovecraft, which I'm starting to get into. Definitely a very adept writer. The guy can really spell things out for you and show you things that you weren't expecting. But in The Tomb, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Tomb or have seen The Tomb. One of the things that happens in The Tomb is it starts out speaking to the psychologist. And again, we're reading the adaptation by the writer Steve Jones, artist Octavio Curiello, and then the letterer Tim Eldred. Like I said, this is an adaptation of The Tomb. As you see, as you're walking through this, you see a very Lovecraftian style, which is quite disturbing, quite descriptive, and paints a picture that most people will not see or haven't seen before in this type of genre. So, in this story, The Tomb, we see this young man who's seeing a psychologist, and the psychologist is finding out about this man's fascination with the tomb of a family. And as the kid comes to find out, he believes that he's been reading books from here, and he thinks that he actually is part of the family. Psychologist and parents end up all finding out, of course, and then they follow him to the tomb. The kid's looking at the tomb all night long, and but he comes back with these stories, and he's finding things inside the tomb. And one of the really interesting things is that Lovecraft kind of ends it on a note where you're not really feeling 100% solid on things, because they end up getting to the tomb later on. They break into the tomb, and they find out that this kid's name is already in the tomb, but the tomb is untouched. Nothing's been unlocked. The padlock is locked. It's rusted. It looks like nobody's been there for 50 years, as it says. And the kid's tomb is in there. So it's this kid's fascination with the tomb, and it really flips things on its head and gives you a new perspective for stories. But like I said, it did feel kind of open at the end. It did feel kind of like you were left wanting on in some aspects, trying to figure out, okay, well, what's next? Or there's not really an expansion on this. So you kind of have to take it as it is and think about, well, the fact that in the story Lovecraft is talking about the difference between reality and something that's made up in your head. And he's saying that in some cases they kind of cross over, and that's I believe the message of this one. But it also kind of it takes a left turn at the end. That the kid's tomb is in there, and I guess it's starting to point to the fact that, well, maybe it was real. The kid's ideas were real, but we do have evidence in the book that he's staring at this tomb for hours on end at night, but believing he's doing these things, but he's not. And then they do open the tomb, and they find his tomb there. This boy's with his name on it. So, decent book. The story could have ended a little bit differently. I think you could have thrown some more fire onto it, but H.P. Lovecraft, always good, always coming with the fire. Definitely check out The Tomb by H.P. Lovecraft. Very frightening, especially if you're reading through and you don't know what happens. But I hope you enjoyed the book review. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on Revisiting History, and we're going to be out there getting some really good stuff soon. The book reviews are finally returning, equipment's finally getting better, and things are just going to go up from here. So thank you guys, and I really appreciate you being here. Have a good one.